SBI, which was the key lender to Vijay Mallya, has filed an application seeking the attachment of $40 million that was due from Diageo as part payment of, I think, the $70 million that was promised earlier on. In fact, Diageo had transferred $40 million to Malia's JP Morgan account in New York. And so this is just an update on that. It seems like Mr. Malia won't see the light of day when it comes to receiving this $40 million in cash. This was a cash payment that was made to him. And I think we have an important voice joining us. Mr. Jayan Gupta joins in for a quick perspective. This is a big blow for Mr. Malia.
Yeah, it appears to be a big blow for Mr. Malia, but I'm always wondering that why our agencies cannot work in a holistic manner. The issue is that if you have seen a couple of days back, there was a news item that ED is asking for freezing the shares of Mr. Malia and all that. Why we act in small pieces here and there? Everybody has been following this story from March onwards. Why a decision not taken by all the agencies put together, say, we write to the banks, we write to the depositories, we write to this, that, and so that your action is uniform. What happens? Sometimes in between, some money would have flown, some share would have been transferred. Yeah. Then there will be inquiry and the time wasted that why this was not done, why that was not done. Anyway, it is a good thing that things are happening. The banks have been asked to withhold the money and Watson is asked to freeze the shares. So it's a good thing, but let us see what is the final outcome of all this.
Yeah, I just want to remind our viewers, this is, of course, the first tranche of the $75 million that was transferred before the DRT order and that Diageo was intending to pay Mr. Malia. Of course, SBI has staked claim on this money, and which is what the dispute is relating to. Rahul Deyama joins us with more details on this story. Rahul, so $40 million is not going to be transferred to Mr. Malia, that there's a freeze on it?
Yes, to break it down for you, so two things. One, today the DRT has passed an order asking JP Morgan Bank, which is based in New York, that is where Vijay Mallya holds an account and where $40 million, the first tranche, as you mentioned, was transferred to him. The DRT has today passed an order saying that it will ask the bank to not disperse the $40 million to Vijay Mallya. And in case also the bank has directed JP Morgan, the DRT has directed JP Morgan Bank to ensure that they furnish the bank statements of Vijay Mallya starting February 26 of this year. That's when the amount was paid to him. So in case the funds were indeed transferred elsewhere, those details also the court will have access to when they get the bank statement. So now the big breaking news is that Vijay Mallya will not be able to access $40 million if he hasn't been able to do so far, and his bank statements will also be produced before the court. So clearly the news around Vijay Mallya will tighten, and banks have gone after the $40 million payout that he received from Diageo.
Right. Rahul Deyama, thanks very much for bringing us that very important story. Mr. Jayan Gupta is still with us. Mr. Gupta, earlier on, we'd also highlighted a story talking about how now efforts are being made. Mr. Malia is reaching out to lenders. I think he's initiating a conversation with Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya of SBI to kind of get a breakthrough on, making the payments. SBI is, of course, it's a well-known fact that they've been staking claim on the $75 million. That's how the, issue came into focus. And so they would, try and push their case to ensure that no money gets directed to Mr. Malia. If he's getting any cash, then he needs to first pay his lenders.
Actually, I agree with you. The issue is very clear here, as I told you earlier, that about 2 months back, when this issue of money, 75 million payments to Mr. Malia was concerned, the SBI had moved DRT and DRT had passed on, and then DRT has said that we have already disbursed this money. The first tranche has already been paid. So my question is this: why at that time Diageo did not pass an order that says this money or stop it money at the banker's level? Now, after 2 months you pass this order, do you think that the money will be sitting in the account waiting for the order from DRT to be attached? That is one issue. Second issue is this, as far as the banks are concerned, look, banks would never be interested whether the Mr. Malia is behind bar or outside bar. It is not an issue. They are all interested in their money getting back. And that is the prime importance for that. But somehow or other, if you see the today's newspaper also, it has been reported, the banks are also trying to get political cover, which is rightly so, because today, if in normal course, bank would have said, okay, 9,000 crore, you owe me, you give me 6,000 crore, we write off 3,000 crore. But in the present condition, then banks will have a problem that some CBI will come after that or some ED will come after that. That's why this decision was taken. So banks do not want to take a risk at this juncture. In ordinary course, they would have taken the risk. That is one. Secondly, issue is very simple. That to look into the holistically. Idea is not to keep Mr. Malia in the jail. The idea is to recover all the money. But simultaneously, you cannot have a situation where a person can make a fun of your law and your law enforcement agency do not go after that. So it has to be a very fine balance between the two objectives. One is the law enforcement.
Fair points, Mr. Gupta. All your points are very fair. I just want to get in another reaction. Mr. Anil Singhvi now joins in with his perspective. At nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Mr. Singhvi, we had broken a story talking about how Mr. Malia is making a last-ditch attempt to break the deadlock with his lenders. In fact, Utkarsh had brought us this story. He's looking at all efforts, all possibilities, including liquidation of his assets, so as to reach a final settlement. And he's reached out to the SBI chief, incidentally, for the same. You think this could have perhaps happened a lot earlier, but now that it's happening, it's perhaps effort in the right direction?
Definitely, it's an effort in the right direction, though we may be a bit late and banks may have been a bit late in waking up on this whole matter. But I think instead of running this in a very hysterical in a way, by media and by the banks, I think the best way globally also is done. It's not that somebody is just running scot-free. I think it's much better to engage with Mr. Malia rather than disengaging with him. So once they engage with him, he has, I think, put on offer some 7,000 crore, but not a small sum of money. So I think the banks have to really look like bankers, not like money collectors. I mean, this is where I think somewhere Indian banks are, and now they're saying that they want a government's help in reaching to the issue because otherwise CVC and CAG and all that will haunt them. That means what they are saying that every recovery they have to talk to government for this. So somewhere I think the banking industry seemed to have lost. I mean, first they were lenders and now they're becoming collectors. I think for God's sake they should become once again bankers.
That's true. Perhaps it's also improving the relationship with potential lenders going forward. Engaging with them, like you said, is very important to ensure that payments are made in a timely fashion. But this has been one issue that's really garnered a lot of attention. And Vijay Ganeshan Iyer, of course, is standing by. He's been at the helm of the story right from the start. In fact, our entire reporter team, you just heard Rahul Deyama, there was Utkarsh Chaturvedi who's been getting us updates. Even in Delhi, we've been tracking every a political voice on the matter. Vijay, come to you, and how are you looking at this step? This is an important development. It signals that yes, the pressure is building on Mr. Malia, but also more importantly that he's now realizing that he needs to make the effort to get this resolved.
Tanvi, let's look at it in two ways. One, why the DRT order is important. In the last 2.5 months, this whole hype and this whole case caught attention when SBI moved DRT after the DIGO deal with Vijay Mallya on this whole $75 million severance package that he was being offered, of which 40 million was going to be offered in the first tranche and subsequently later the rest. That is where the whole attention of the bankers was there, and that is where they moved the DRT. So after finally 2.5 months, at least the bankers for the first time have got an order from the DRT saying that money should not be allowed to be released from JP Morgan's bank in New York, where Vijay Mallya holds the account. Also on the other hand, they have asked Vijay Mallya certain shares to be freezed. So in more than one ways, clearly, this is for the first time bankers have been managed to get some sort of legal reprieve or backing on their whole case to try and ensure this $35 million or $40 million doesn't go out of Vijay Mallya's accounts. So clearly this is the reprieve that he have got, but from Vijay Mallya's perspective, we'll have to also understand, as Mr. J.N. Gupta was rightly pointing out, at the end of the day, JP Morgan is a bank located outside India's jurisdiction. So how far would they adhere to a DRT order is a question that we'll have to wait and see. And if at all they adhere, has the money already been moved out of Vijay Mallya's JP Morgan account in New York is yet another question that we'll have to wait and see. But if I could just get in Mr. Singhvi back into this discussion. Mr. Singhvi, this is Vijay Ganeshan joining in from the Mumbai newsroom. As you're rightly pointing out, sir, bankers should not be in the business of collecting money. If I could ask you, even now, should bankers take this offer of close to 7,000 crores that Mr. Vijay Mallya is offering, clearly trying and recovering their capital and say waive off the interest, because adding on the interest and the compoundable interest is where all the zeros are getting added, if I could say that?
Very clearly 2 points. I mean, today the bankers seem to be having this fear of CVC and CAG. I wonder why didn't they have the same kind of fear when they were lending money left, right and center, not only to Kingfisher, to many such accounts, and particularly when the Kingfisher airline brand was pledged to them, whereas there was no value and they attached a 4,000 crore value. So when they did not have the fear of CVC and CAG then, I find it laughable that today when he's putting serious money like 7,000 crore upfront on this, and they are unable to take on this money. So I think somewhere the banks have to really now rise up to this. There has been enough media hysteria has been created on account of Vijay Mallya. There have been many more defaulters who are really just getting scot-free, and they haven't offered a single rupee here. At least here, whatever I've read in media, that almost 6,500-7,000 crore he has put up for settling the matter. So I think the banks have to now become like bankers, take a commercial view of this. If you are getting 80 cents out of a dollar of such a bad deal because he's not even willing to come back to the country, I think it's a deal which they have to seriously pay attention to rather than be worried about CVC and CAG. I really feel that they should have been really worried then of CVC and CAG than worrying today when money is being seen. When money was doled out, they were not worried. And when money is being paid back, they are worried about it. That's laughable.
J.N. Gupta, if I could ask you this question. At this point of time, Mr. Vijay Mallya says he is ready to settle all the dues, but all the suit filed against him should be withdrawn. Now, the fact remains, even if the bankers want, they can't, because CBI and ED as investigating agencies will independently go ahead and probe all the issues that they are investigating. So, clearly, isn't Mallya asking for something which is practically not possible under the law? Although he wants to settle, he can settle, but the investigations will go ahead now irrespective of Vijay Mallya asking for the suits to be withdrawn or not?
I will go one by one. First of all, I will have to say something what Mr. Singh said. One, we have to understand simply that it is very easy to say that the bank should do it and not bother about CVC or CBI, something like this. We have to understand two things. First, we have to create an environment where banks are allowed to work freely. Unfortunately, today the situation is this. It is not. Secondly, Mr. Singhvi said that they should have been worried when they had made loans. I agree. But then it is not a case that the person who made the loan is the person who is doing it today. People keep on changing. So that today the decision, whoever takes a decision is taking a decision and taking the risk. That is one. As I have been pointing out that this case is not a banker and customer case anymore. It has become a socio-political case, where the society is involved, the political parties are involved, there is a blame going from one party to another party. So in this environment, how can you expect a banker to behave like a banker? He has to behave as a common citizen of the country who is afraid what is going to happen to him tomorrow. The second thing that you have asked, if I was a banker and there was no string attached here, then about CVC, CBI or something, I would have settled for 60 paisa, 70 paisa to a rupee and moved on in my business. That is one. Second, the condition that the case to be withdrawn. If there is a criminal case, the criminal case cannot be withdrawn by SBI or any other bank, even if they want, because the law of the country does not permit a criminal case to be withdrawn, because the crime is always against the state. not against the individual. Because if I stab you and two of us agree that there will be no case, no, there is a time. So this demand of Mr. Malia is SBI may withdraw all the cases relating to its loan, but SBI cannot withdraw the money laundering case or the case relating to PF dues or the case relating to service tax or all other or income tax. So this is a demand which is made and which, in my opinion, cannot be accepted by any of the bankers. Yes, the government may say that we will give you a fair trial, but that goes without saying because the law always gives a fair trial to anybody, whether it is me and you. So the issue is very complicated and it cannot be decided by me, you or any banker in isolation. It has to be decided in a holistic manner.
Oh yes, Mr. Gupta, it's a bit of a domino effect at play and a matter that has become far more complex than it seemed initially. Rahul Dayama, who just got us this update, joins in with a quick perspective as well. Rahul, take us through exactly what the applications entail.
So today, SBI, led by the SBI, leading the consortium banks, really had filed two applications before DRT. One really seeking that JP Morgan Bank, that the account of Vijay Mallya that was used to pay the $40 million, that money should not be dispersed to Vijay Mallya. They had also sought that the bank furnish details, the bank statement of Malia to really know if indeed money has been diverted somewhere, where has the money been diverted. So that was the first application. The DRT took the cognizance of the matter and has passed an order asking JP Morgan Bank to not disperse the money and also furnish the bank statements of Vijay Mallya. The second application really is the banks have sought the attachment of shares that Vijay Mallya owns in this company called Watson Limited. So while we don't have much details as to what stake does Vijay Mallya, what stake that Vijay Mallya owned in this company, the banks have sought that the shares be attached till all proceedings before the court are done with. That order has also been passed by DRT. They will direct this particular Watson Limited to ensure that the stake that Vijay Mallya owns is not divested in any manner. Also, to give you a brief background, which I will be sending out in a while, the bank has also heavily come down, the DRT has heavily come down on the banks today. A few questions that the court put to the bank council was, why had you to really wait for DIGO to give this settlement deal details for you to go after them? Why wasn't due diligence done by banks before this loan was furnished? And also the lethargy that banks have shown, that applications on applications have been filed, but little is being done by SBI itself. Also why the government's role was not sought when an international transaction of this nature took place. So clearly DRT has, while passing an order in favor of the banks, it also pulled up banks telling them that they haven't done enough all throughout and have been lethargic all through the process.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.